Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Masterclass. Today, we're going to talk about two TradeStation trading apps that are not mentioned a lot, but we're still going to mention them and see what their technicalities are and in what kind of situations you may want to use them. So those two trading apps are the Quick Trade Bar and the market depth, which are right here on the title slide. One of them is more popular. Like the market depth is something that a lot of people use, especially if you're trading based on bids and asks and their sizes. That's an application that a lot of people use more than the Quick Trade Bar. The Quick Trade Bar is one of those tools that TradeStation designed a long time ago, especially when we were offering broker services for Forex. We designed this trading app for that specific purpose. Now that TradeStation doesn't offer broker services for Forex, then the tool remains there, and it can also be used for stocks, futures, or anything you want to load up on it. So we'll talk about how to place trades on the Quick Trade Bar. But before I jump into the topic of today's presentation, let's go through some important disclosures. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about in this presentation is for educational purposes only. It is not a recommendation of TradeStation. Also, that active trading is not suitable for everyone, and it should only be done with the risk capital. And for anyone that is looking at past historical performance, this is no guarantee of future results. For additional information on these disclosures, you see the link right there at the bottom of this PowerPoint slide, www.tradestation.com/important-information to go to those disclosures directly, okay? For those that are joining the masterclass new, my name is Jesus Nava, Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. And our objective here is to make the TradeStation platform something that it's easy to use and that you can concentrate on what you do best, which is trading the markets. Let me go over here and jump over to TradeStation and start talking about these trading tools, all right? And let me get rid of these notifications so that I can have a full screen. The chat is open, by the way. You're welcome to submit any questions or any comments right there in the chat. I do ask that everyone sets their chats to everyone so that we can all see your comments and we can all follow along if there's a question. Okay, so thank you for that. Let's go ahead and jump over here to the apps section of the TradeStation platform. And the tool that I'm referring to is right here. It's called the Quick Trade Bar. Everybody should have it. It's built into the TradeStation platform. You don't need any new permissions. I'm going to click on it to see what it looks like. The last time I was using my TradeStation, I was looking at Apple. And that's why when the Quick Trade Bar loads up, you can see it on the top left corner, Apple is shown as the symbol. The nice thing about this trading tool is that it's resizable, and whatever you see inside this application will resize according to what you make the window look like. So if I grab it by a corner and I make it extra large, you can see how the buttons will size accordingly. This is a little bit too large for my taste, but I just wanted to show you that it doesn't matter what size you make it, everything that's in it still works as a button. It just resizes accordingly, which is a really nice touch, okay? And when we designed this order entry tool for Forex, we used to build sort of a order entry dashboard, very cool workspace with different symbols on different quick trade bars, allowing you to place trades on a lot of symbols very quickly. So what we did is we opened up, I can open up a total of 6. I mean, you can open as many as you need to, but I'm going to open just 6 so they're not so small on the screen so you can know exactly what I'm referring to. So I'm going to go here to Quick Trade Bar, Apps, Quick Trade Bar. That's 3, Apps, Quick Trade Bar, 4, Apps, Quick Trade Bar, 5, Apps, Quick Trade Bar, 6. So once I have 6 on the screen, I just go here to the window menu and I click on Arrange All. You see, very nice and very quick. So let's suppose that I want to change the symbols here just to the symbols that I usually trade. So I'm going to go here on the top left corner. Let's say that I'm a futures trader. So So I'm going to do ESH22. That's March S&P E-mini right here in the middle. Maybe I'm going to do the Dow YMH22. All right. And I may do the NASDAQ over here on the far right, NQH22. Now, maybe I'm also a stock trader. So right here at the bottom, I may be trading, SPY for the S&P 500. Here, I may trade, I don't know, whatever it is. I can leave it on Apple. And then over here on the far right, I want to leave it on Microsoft. Maybe I'm trading some, technology stocks. All right. So you can see that I've already created a dashboard with different symbols that I can trade. It's called a quick trade bar for that reason, because it's really quick to place trades using this board. So if you're only trading certain number of symbols, let's say that you're not doing any fancy scans or monitoring, dozens of different symbols or even hundreds of different symbols, and then choosing and picking different stocks on different sectors. Maybe if you're the type of trader that sticks to certain stocks or certain futures contracts and trade those as they go up and down, that is good. Not that the other, method is bad, but maybe creating a dashboard like this could help you a bit. I'm not sure. I'm going to present the technology to you, and then you decide whether this works for you or not. Okay. Good morning, Prasad. All right. So he says it'd be useful if you give the power to trade like spreads and butterflies. You mean on stocks and futures? Yeah, those are not possible on the platform itself, as you may already know. So Prasad, thank you for that suggestion. Yes, if you wanted to trade some spreads and butterflies on options, you can do it in OptionStation Pro. You can do some future spreads though, using Futures Plus. So if future spreads is something that interests you, those are available on Futures Plus. This is like a third-party software that we make available for TradeStation users that want to trade options on futures, or maybe some future spreads. Those are possible there. I'm not sure if you knew that, Prasad, but it's pretty cool. Rich, is this available for options? It could be. The problem here is that we would have to link it somehow, and that I think we can do. Let me go ahead and open up a new workspace. Let me open up here a quick trade bar. I'm also going to open up my OptionStation Pro for a moment. All right, and these are my options for, this is loading for SPY. Okay, so if I have my OptionStation Pro on the right-hand side, and I have my TradeStation on the left-hand side, okay, I can take this quick trade bar and link it to my OptionStation Pro. Of course, in OptionStation Pro, this loads a chain. So if you look over here on the top right, this is linked by a global symbol link that I can use also in my quick trade bar. So let me go ahead and if I can link it here, make sure that if you go to the drop down, you're selecting the one that says global. Otherwise, it will not work. You can confirm by looking at the side of the linking button, because it's kind of a rounded side on that button. But if I click on any of these strikes, let me go here and reduce the number of strikes here. I don't need that many. Let me go here and choose 20. So it shows 10 above and 10 below. Perfect. So if I choose, for example, oh, these are just showing calendars. Okay, calendars, I'm not going to be able to put here inside of the quick trade bar. So if I click on any of these, the link will not work. So I have to go here to single legs. So let me go ahead and open up my March. And let's say, for example, that I want to trade a call with a strike price of 445. If I click here on the left side, oh, so I guess I I had to go through all this just to figure out that, as it says right here on the quick trade bar does not support this asset type. So to answer the question, Rich, this is a long-winded answer. The answer is no, not supported. I thought for a moment that I could load an option symbol here, but I guess that's our answer. It's not supported. That's all right. So it's better to do it this way than me having told you, hey, it does work from options, and then you trying to figure out how does it work. But let's go ahead and focus on just the products that you can trade in here. So let me resize this again. You can take the top left corner over here and click to highlight whatever's in there and type in the symbol you want to trade. Let's go here to Bank of America, for example. Okay, so I'm going to put a chart here on the screen as well, because it's interesting to see how the trades show up right here on the chart as well. Okay, so I'm going to arrange my view like this. All right, Bank of America is trading at 48.13. Now, what you see here inside of the quick trade bar for Bank of America is, of course, these two big buttons that are highlighted in color when you hover over them. So you have this big blue button and you have this big red button. What do they do? Well, it says right there in the corner, the blue button buys and the red buttons sell short. But what type of order is it? These are all limit orders, and the prices that you see inside of the button is the inside bid and ask. You can see that there's a difference between the left price and the right price. That's because the bid is going to be populated in the blue button and the ask is going to be populated in the red button. When you click on the blue button, you're going to be sending a limit order at the price that is displayed in the button at the time that you click on it. Very cool and very quick. In addition to having that chart here on the far right, I'm also going to put in a trade manager window because I want to keep track of those orders that I'm placing. And that way you'll see exactly what type of order is being placed. Let me resize this. I'll put it down here. All right, so here we go. I'm on the orders tab, Bank of America, 48.15. We said that if we click on the blue button, it's going to be a limit order to buy Bank of America at whatever price is right there in the button. How many shares though? Does it say? Yeah, right here. The quantity is right here in the middle. Let's say, for example, that I only want to do 100 shares, and I'm going to click on the buy button. I have confirmations turned on. Let me go ahead and disable confirmations and say yes. I get filled immediately, and that's understandable because you're still sending a limit order at a price that is very close to the current market condition. So it's very likely for your order to get filled immediately. And if it's a fast moving market, it's also very likely that the market will move away from the price that you want. If you look at the blue row right here at the bottom, this is my Bank of America order. It bought 100 shares. My limit order, notice that it's a limit because there's a price under the limit column. It means that it's a limit at 48.15. Got filled at 48.15. Now, of course, as I said before, if you have a fast moving market or a market that goes in the opposite direction as your limit order, the order is going to remain there without getting filled. But you can see how quickly it was for me to just click on that big button, for me to get the confirmation, confirm the order, and that's it. Now that I've disabled confirmations, because I'm not sure if you saw it, but I did check the little box that says, don't show me this again. That's a quick way for you to disable confirmations if you want to do it right there from the confirmation window. I should be able to manage that trade right here inside of the quick trade bar. A couple of things that happen when I have a position open. First of all, you have position information. So here you see that I have 100 shares of Bank of America. My average price was 48.15. I have an open P&L of $3.95. And it also gives me a percent change on my P&L, which is pretty cool. All that information right here inside of the quick trade bar. One thing that also happened, I'm not sure if you noticed, is that this little P lit up, meaning that I have access to the P. That P, or that capital letter P, stands for position. So anytime you have a position open on the quick trade bar, you'll have the position or the P button available for you to click on. What is the purpose of that P button? to populate the quantity box with how many shares you own. Sometimes, if you are in and out of a particular security, at a certain point, you may not be very sure about the number of shares you have. So clicking the P makes TradeStation look in your account and say, oh, you have 100 or you have 200 shares of this stock. And then clicking it populates the quantity right there in the box. Let's suppose that I had the standard, or the default 500 in there. By clicking on the P here, should revert back that to 100, which is the number of shares that I own. How do I know? Because my position up here says 100. So let's click on the P, and you can see how the position gets updated to 100. All right, so very quick button for you to just populate the quantity of the shares you have. Now I could sell them at the asking price. So sellers are asking $48.21, and I can try to get a fill on this. But sometimes, of course, if it goes or moves away from the price that you want, the order may just sit there. Let me see if I can sell them just clicking on this big red button. See, the order sits there. I want 48.20, which is, and there we just got filled. You see how it took a couple seconds or a few seconds to get filled, which is understandable. I wanted a price of 48.20, but the stock may have been trading, at 48.19 until a buyer was willing to pay 48.20, and I got filled at the price that I wanted. Another thing that I want you guys to notice is that both of these orders were limit orders. So clicking on any of the two buttons here on the quick trade bar will generate limit orders. That's the only type of order that gets generated by clicking on these big buttons. All right, let's take a look at some other functionality here and look at all the different buttons. First of all, right under quantity, you have quick quantities to select: 100, 200, 500, and 1,000. I get a question very commonly. Can I adjust those quantities? No, those cannot be adjusted. You can enter a custom quantity in here, but the quick quantity buttons are kind of hard coded into the window. There hasn't been any development done on the quick trade bar. If you think that this is a window that you may want to use, but it needs a little bit of work, just let our product owners know by sending your feedback right there in the apps menu. All right, so here we have a buy market and a sell market button on either side of the quantity. That's pretty self-explanatory. We know what a market order does. So if you want a quick entry and not be concerned about does it get filled, doesn't get filled because of the limit order kind of behavior, we can just click on the market order. So if I want to buy market 100, I get filled. Now I have 100. And if I want to get out quickly, I just sell at market. And then it's a selling transaction at market. You would get the same behavior if you would click on this close button that lights up green and then goes gray if you have no positions open. So right now my button close is gray, meaning that I don't have any open positions. But if let's say that I buy at market, I have 100 shares of Bank of America, and the close button down here, now it's lit up in green, meaning that I can sell it. Let me close. So clicking on the close right here, or either the buy or the sell market buttons, has the same effect. It's a market order to get out quickly. The only difference is that if you buy, let's say you buy 500 shares. I want to buy 500 shares of Bank of America. You can then drop the quantity to 100 and sell 100 of those 500. I have a position of 500. I dropped my quantity to 100. I sell at market. So now my quantity is down to 400 because I sold 100 of the 500 that I had. Close doesn't look at quantity. Close just takes out whatever you have in your account for this particular symbol. It'll just generate a market order to get you out of that position altogether. Of the symbol that you have on the quick trade bar, don't think that this is a close everything that I have in my account. It's just one symbol. But notice that I have 400, and if I click on close, then I'm flat. It goes back to zero. It sells everything that I have. That's the difference of using the close button rather than the sell market or buy market, okay? The same thing happens if you short. If you click on this sell market before having a position open, it enters you into a short position. And when you see the number of shares as a negative number, that means that you're short that number of shares. Okay, but the behavior is the same. Now I can click on buy if I want to close my position, or close to close my short trade. Okay, hopefully you're getting the order filled confirmations or the audible confirmations in the background through the microphone, because it's very simple, very straightforward, and very quick, and hence the name, the quick trade bar. Okay, a couple more functionality here. We have a few buttons here on the blue side: take, split, and bid plus one. And on the red side, we have ask minus one, split, and hit. Well, if you're not familiar with these auto pricing buttons, because that's what they do, they automatically select a price for you. Let's go ahead and talk about them for a moment. First of all, we have the two buttons on either side, take and hit. Take and hit are the type of trades that you would submit when you want to cross the market. And what I mean by crossing the market is that you want to buy at the asking price. You buy at the asking price. Remember that the big button over here is going to buy at the bid price. So you're joining other buyers that are submitting these orders to buy at whatever it's the best bid. Okay, so that's that would be clicking on the big buttons. But if you click on take, you're crossing to the other side, meaning that you're buying at the asking price. So whatever the sellers are selling their shares at, you want that price. That's pretty much a take order. You're taking it. You're taking the order the way it is. Whatever the sellers want, that's how much you want to pay, which gives you a little bit more, let's say, probabilities of getting filled than just a regular limit order, because you're kind of saying, I agree. You want to sell it at 48.22? Yeah, I'll buy it at 48.22. That's pretty much what the order sounds like if you were trading like that. But the take is just going to send it at 48.21, which is the current price. I'm going to take it. But take a look at something. You know, that my order got filled immediately because, of course, you're buying something at whatever the selling price is. But this is still a limit order. Take a look at my row right here. It doesn't change the order type. I'm still saying, yeah, I'll buy it at that price, but limit. So if all of a sudden the seller comes around and says, well, I want to sell it at 48.22, then the order just stays there. You know, you don't get whatever the price, whatever the sellers are selling at. You'll get the price that they're selling at the moment that you submit the trade. If they all of a sudden move away and say, well, I want more money, no, it doesn't work that way. Your order will not get filled and it'll stay there. Does that make sense? So it's still a limit order, but you're crossing to the other side of where the sellers are. The same happens if you do a hit. Let me go ahead and close this position first. The hit is if you are selling something and you're hitting the asking side. So whatever the buyers want to buy it at, that's exactly what I want to sell it at. So it does improve the probabilities of the trade of getting filled. However, it could still sit there and not get filled at all. If I hit it, I get filled immediately, and then I can just take it. And that gets rid of my position. So these two buttons are also very quick at getting you in because you're crossing the market. What is the advantage here, though? The advantage is that you're limiting the price. It's not just a market order. Market orders are pretty much open to anything that happens. So if you say, I'm going to send a buy order at market, and in the process, the sellers say, well, I want to sell my shares of Bank of America at $50. Well, guess what happens? You're going to get a fill at $50, not the price that you see there. And that's of course, in a extreme scenario. I don't ever foresee, and if it happens, you know, that would be very, very, very bad for anybody that's trading Microsoft. But it jumped, unless you're on the long side, but it jumped from 48.21 to $50. That's a huge jump. But again, if you use market orders, yeah, you're open to any price fluctuations and a little bit more slippage if the price does decide to go in against you very quickly. But using take and hit, you kind of get the same behavior, but if there's a sharp move against you, then the order will not get filled. It'll just stay there. And then you can manage it if you want to manage it. If you still want to get in, you can always cancel and replace with a market order. Okay, so let me flat here. What is split? Split is interesting because you would think that it splits your position in half, but it doesn't. What it does, it looks at the bid and the ask and finds a price in between. Most stocks, if they're highly traded, like Bank of America has some sizable volume. I don't see any volume information here on the quick trade bar, but if I look over here on my chart, I don't see volume here, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be high. Oh, there we go. I hover. Sometimes it shows up. There we go. It shows up. There's a tooltips. You know, if you hover over the status line, this is called the status line, the information you find at the top of the chart. And I was trying to get this tooltip, and it should show up as soon as you bring your cursor on top of the status line. You should see it, especially if it runs over the screen. You see over here at the very end, it has an ellipsis. It just tells you that there's more information. So if you hover over it, you should get a data tips that pretty much shows you all the information in there. And if you look on the far right, you can see volume. So Bank of America so far has traded about 22 million shares, highly traded stock. So when you look at the bid and the ask, it's going to be very tight. The spread is going to be very tight between the bid and the ask because it just updates so quickly and so frequently. There's so many people trading Bank of America that you see those prices, you see that closedness. For stocks that are not traded as much, and maybe if we have an example, I'm not sure if you guys can tell me a stock that doesn't trade as frequently, and maybe we can have a bigger spread here. Can you give me an example? We can pull it up here so we can show an example. I can trade maybe if we do something highly priced like Amazon, you know, you can see a bigger spread. Here we have close to $1 spread, you know, close to $1. But this, you know, trades very quickly. But if we J&J, let's go to J&J and see. This is Myron's suggestion. Let's see. Those, I would still consider these very tight, you know, 171.19, 171.21. But Amazon is not that it's lightly traded. It's just that the price is so high that you can see a little bit of a spread. So if you were to have a spread like this, like in this case, you have 50 or $1 spread, split, what it does, it just grabs a price in between. That's going to be your limit price. So here we have 0.52, 0.78. I'm going to do it quickly and see what happens to split. So my price is 181.29. Notice how the limit price that's right here is not reflected in the, there we go, we just got filled, but it's not reflected in the buttons because what it did the math between the bid and the ask, and your limit price was right in between. So you saw the order waiting there because we didn't have a seller at the price. And if you look over here, we kind of got filled at a lower price than we anticipated. Our limit price, we wanted to buy it at 31.81.29, but we got it at 31.80.55. So we did improve our entry, and that's just the nature of the market. It doesn't mean anything. It wasn't because I used split instead of take. It's just that Amazon moves all over the place. But I did get a better price than I wanted, but split, what it does, it just looks at bid, it looks at ask, and your limit price is going to be between the bid and the ask. Okay, split in two. Hopefully that makes sense, all right? And the same thing happens here on the short side. I'm going to do a quick short trade, take a look, do a mental picture on these prices, and I'm going to do it right now. So my short side, my short price is 31.80.44. You can see that it was right somewhere in between. I'm not sure if you were able to capture the prices mentally, but it was right in between 31.80. You can see that the price has moved a little bit away from that price that I wanted. I wanted to sell it at 31.80. They had a chance for a moment, but now it's 31.77 to 31.78, and it's moving away from the price that I wanted, and that's why it's just sitting there and not getting filled. Again, they're all limit orders. All right, so let's go ahead and, oh, by the way, you have this yellow button that says cancel all. If you wanted to do a quick cancel, just click on cancel, and this will cancel any active orders you have on this symbol. It will not cancel, all your orders, just the one for this symbol. Bid plus one, ask minus one. That's just adding a tick to the bid. In a stock that is this high, for example, we see a bid here of 31.7877. It will just make the bid 31.7878. Just increases the price by a penny. So that one does not mean that it's a whole dollar. It's just one minimum price increment. In this case, a 0.01. So if I click on bid plus one, then 31.8056, 1 penny higher than what it was right here. The price continued to go up. I noticed that my order just sat there, not getting filled at all. Okay, let me cancel all. So that's exactly what these buttons do. Again, take and hit, cross the market. Split on both sides, find me a price between bid and ask. And bid plus one or ask minus one does give you that ability to do precisely that. It takes the bid and adds a point or a minimum price or a tick. Some people call it a tick. Add a tick to my bid or subtract a tick from my ask. Okay. Can I change those amounts? I'm not sure. I don't think so. If I go here to settings and I go to, no, unfortunately, these buttons right here cannot be changed. This bid plus an ask one or an ask minus one is the same feature you find up here when you click on auto pricing. And if you see, we have the split, we have the hit take, and we also have the improve. Now the improve, as you can see, is buy at bid plus an amount or sell at ask minus an amount. So the bid plus one and ask minus one that you see here represents this functionality, which is called improve. Improve the bid because you're adding one, or improve the ask because you're subtracting one. That's the way that it works between buy and sell orders. And hopefully this makes sense, because that's pretty much what this order entry tool does. It allows you to do quick order entry on the symbol that gets loaded right here on the top left. A couple of things that you can do. You can select the account that you want to trade. I have 3 different simulators connected to this trade station so that I can switch them and trade either one. If you had multiple accounts in your trade station, you have that ability here. I'm going to right click on the quick trade bar. It doesn't matter where I right click, and you go to settings and you can click on the symbol. The symbol is just a way for you to change the symbol, but I can also change it by going to the top right corner of the application. But what I wanted to show you here in settings is that you can switch the layout. The standard is buy, sell, but you can change it to an alternate layout that has sell, buy. What this does, and the only thing that it does, is that it switches the buy and the sell buttons. Now you are selling at the bid and you're buying at the ask. So this is like using that. This is like using that hit take functionality where you cross the market, but it's good. It doesn't have to. You don't have to select a button. You can use the big buttons now. Now in this case, join. Notice that I have a new one, join here. It doesn't hit. It doesn't say hit or take because it's already doing that here at the top. Join would be joining the bid or joining the ask. All right. That's pretty much it. Any questions on the quick trade bar before I jump over to the market depth? It's interesting. I have 100 shares on this account, and I'm already up $800. which is understandable. You know, this is an investment. If you buy 100 shares, we're talking about a 320, close to $320,000 investment. So it's very easy for you to get up in these P&Ls quickly. That's because of the size of the trade. Doesn't mean that the trade is good. It's just that you're trading a massive amount of money for just 100 shares. That's interesting. Okay, so I don't see any more questions. I'm going to jump over here to a separate workspace. Let me go ahead and turn off my notifications here. Otherwise, this will be, all right, let me pause notifications for the next 30 minutes. Okay, so let me go here to apps and let's open up the market depth window. Here we go. This is market depth on Amazon. Amazon, because that was the last symbol that we were looking at. When you look at symbols like this, I'm not sure if it happens to you, but this is hard to follow because I mean there's so many trades that happen on a tick by tick basis that this window is out of control, and in the sense that it changes so quickly that it's really hard to focus on any values whatsoever. When I bring up a window like this on Amazon, I rely on what's shown here on the graph because the graph visually can tell you where the majority of the orders are, depending on where what the graph is set to. I'm not sure if you guys can see. Well, before we go here into the graph, let's explain how the window is split up and what type of data is it giving you. First of all, let's focus on the detail pane, which is the bottom part of the market depth. The bottom part is, as I said, the detail pane, and on the left-hand side, you have bid pricing, and on the right-hand side, you have ask prices. So these are buyers and sellers. And one thing that I want you guys to note is that on the bid side, the very highest price is at the very top. As you go down the list here, the prices get lower and lower. Why? Because the best bid is always going to be the highest price that someone's bidding for. And that's, you know, that happens on a bid war, you know, and the one that has, the person that has the highest bid is the one that's going to be at the very top. That's the one who's probably going to get the trade because it's the highest bid. So yes, prices go from the highest price at the top to lower at the bottom. On the asking side, you have the inverse behavior where the lowest price is at the very top, because on the selling side, as the price gets lower, that's better for the buyer. So the best selling price is always going to be the lowest. So you can see how the numbers are sorted lowest at the top, and as you go down the list, they get higher and higher because there's always going to be sellers that are going to want a higher price. But of course, you can only get the price that the buyers are willing to pay for what you're selling. So that lowest selling price is going to be the most attractive to buyers, and that's why it's at the very top of this list. And why is the list so long? Because you have market makers and ECNs. ECNs is an acronym that stands for an electronic communication network. So you have all these different parties that are trying to execute trades by matching buyers and sellers. Most of them are electronic. So when you submit a trade, let's say you submit an order to buy 100 shares of Amazon, it's going to go and that order is going to be delivered to one of these venues. Sometimes it's going to be completely electronic. Sometimes it's going to be a company, but it's going to go somewhere to one of these items, one of these IDs. You can see that they're identified with an ID. Usually it's an acronym, but each one of these different acronyms represents a different party that is in the business of putting buyers and sellers together and executing trades. And that's what you see here. You see the best bids and the best asks for each one of these market makers and ECNs, because they're all receiving orders from all over the world. And each one of them will maintain a book of orders, who wants to buy and who wants to sell, especially if they're buying and selling not at the best bid or the best ask, but there's, buying and selling at other prices. So the orders are going to probably sit in their books until you get filled. So what do you see here? You see actual orders waiting to get filled. You see market liquidity. How many shares are on the buy side? How many shares are on the sell side? That's some very useful information because it talks about market sentiment. Of course, you could be sitting there and saying, well, people can control market depth. This is not really transparent. And yes, you are correct because everybody that's trading the market has this ability to hide your order. This is something you can do too. In fact, the TradeStation platform allows you to hide the order. So technically, yes, if you have a whole bunch of people trading the market and they're hiding the orders, they're not going to be visible right here in the market depth. But for the most part, we get, even without those orders, we still get a little bit of market sentiment, and we can see the type of liquidity that a lot of these market makers and ECNs are handling. When you look at the size, that's the number of shares that are waiting on each one of those market makers, waiting to buy or to sell. You can see the time over here, the time column. We're talking fractions of a second, seconds. This is not a long time waiting there because these books are automatic. They run tick by tick, and they're electronically matching buyers and sellers. And as the color here gets darker, of course, you're deeper into the market depth. That's why it's called market depth, because you see the depth of the market and how far it goes. So you can see if I scroll all the way to the bottom, I can see buyers that want to get Amazon at 2,300 when Amazon is trading at 3,200. That's a big jump, but those orders are being submitted regardless. And you can see here on the bottom side of the market depth that I have sellers that want to sell Amazon at 4,200, at 3,500, very far away from where the current trading price is. Maybe they're still shooting for Amazon to either rally to areas that it hasn't been before, or to drop to areas that it hasn't been in a long time. And a lot of people are betting on those scenarios, and you see the orders sitting there and waiting to get filled. This is a great window to also identify, levels of support and levels of resistance. Here, let's find this order right here. This is an order of 3,000. Let me double click on it. Now, when you double click on a size, I double click on the wrong one. This is, if it moves too fast, you'll miss it. Here I highlighted edge. The price is $30. $3,089.40. It's about $100 lower, but take a look at that size. We're talking about 3,000 shares waiting to be bought at that price, $3,089.40. Most of the trades that you see here, most of the sizes are small because of the massive amount of money you need in an account in order to trade just 100 shares. If you want to trade 100 shares, you need at least 300 or more than $300,000 in your account. But if you multiply that, if you add another zero to that, because this is a 3,000 size trade, that's, well, if you add it 1 0, that's 3 million. We multiply by 3, so almost $10 million worth of Amazon shares sitting right there on this bid. What happens, for example, if the market drops to that level and that order is still sitting there? Well, we still have to wait for the execution of 3,000 shares at $3,089.40 for the price to either continue to drop, or that will serve as some sort of a support level, because it'll just take a while for it to trade those 3,000 shares that are waiting. Of course, I'm making an assumption here. I'm not saying that that's going to really happen, but sometimes, you see these big orders waiting in the market depth level that could slow down any drops in price or any rallies in price. You see on the selling side, we don't see sizes that big. we only see that, oh, actually well, that's my position right there, 100 shares. Here's the size of 3,000 shares waiting to get filled. And by the way, the market depth window, even if you're connected to the trading simulator, the market depth window will always show real data. So just keep that in mind, because a lot of people say, well, I'm on the simulator, so that's probably not really real. But no, this is real data, even on the simulator. So the simulator tries to simulate your execution as closely as possible to what real market conditions are. But this is real data. So that 3,000 share buy order, I'm not sure if it's just one order, maybe it's a grouping of orders, but you have visibility into the market. All right, I think I went on a tangent here, but I wanted to show you that. I showed you the colors. It also highlights your position. See, I got in Amazon at 31.80.55, and it shows you where your entry price is in relationship to everything else. So the colors, it only colors about the top 20 rows, and that's why you see a shade of blue. What's happening here on this graph, because I wanted to explain what's at the bottom to explain the graph. What's happening here at the graph, it's the groupings of the bids and the groupings of the ask. And now that I mentioned the graph, let me explain this top left quadrant so that we know what this is. This is just a summary of what you see right here at the bottom. So at the very top level on this very bright blue, you see the two prices that are competing, the best bid and the best ask. The best bid at 31.89, the best ask at 31.90. So it gives you a quick relationship between the best bid and the best ask. The second row would be the second best bid against the second best ask. The third row would be the best third bid with the best third ask, and so on and so on. And what it does, it also gives you the depth. So it also tells you how many market makers and ECNs are on either side. This is 3-to-1, 1-to-1. You can see how it changes very quickly, but you can see that if there's a lot of market makers and ECNs offering the same price, it just adds on to the liquidity, okay? And it tells you 3-to-1 because you have 3 market makers on one side versus 1. But this over here on the right-hand side does put size side by side. So on the bid, we have only 2 shares. On the ask, we have 100, but it changes very fast because we are at the top of the depth, and we can see that that's updating tick by tick. But it's interesting that you can see how that size fluctuates, and that, of course, there is a spread between the bid and the ask, and you can see those spread values going down as we scroll to the bottom of the list. Okay, and what I see here on the far right, now we got to the graph, is just a graphical representation of, this would be the size. You have a way of determining what is it that is being graphed by just right-clicking here and go to data, and you can see that the one that is clicked on is size. Although you can, select depth. Depth, if I select depth, what it does, it looks at the number of market makers and ECNs on either side. And I say either side because I'm not sure if you noticed, there is a vertical divider right there in between. Sometimes if the bars are on top of it, you won't see it, but there's a clear divider in the middle of this graph, and that's why you have the 2 brightest blues against each other, because that's the top bid and the top ask, and everything else to the right and to the left is darker blue. So that's the middle of my graph, and it's just telling you what is the depth of the market based on market makers and ECNs. How many are on either side? I find that setting the graph to size, let's go here to data again and setting it to size, is going to graph the number of shares that are being offered on the bid against the ask, because this tells you when there's an imbalance between buyers and sellers, where are the most shares sitting, on the buy side or the sell side? Of course, this is a little hard to follow because it's changing so quickly, but it still shows you where, the pressures are, especially at the time that you're about to place an order or something to that effect, or maybe something that is not as fast as Amazon. Let's switch over here to Johnson and Johnson. So you can see that this is a little bit more mellow, doesn't update as quickly. You can see, but the same behavior is true on this market depth. Any questions on this application? But it is a window that provides you depth of the market. And one thing that I didn't mention at the very beginning, you only will see data or the depth of the market if you subscribe to the data. If you pull up the market depth window and you don't see all this data that I'm showing here, it's because your account is probably not enabled for it. So it does need a separate subscription, and it may cost more to get this data because exchanges are going to charge you more data just to get this additional information on the markets. But it's a very nice window. It's called the market depth. And if you really want to place trades around this context, there is a trade bar that you can turn on here. I'm going to right click and go to settings and turn on the trade bar. It shows right there at the bottom because this allows you to put in trades very quickly on the market depth without having to go to a different order entry tool. So this is Johnson & Johnson. I do not have any open positions on Johnson & Johnson, but one of the nice things about this is that I can double click on any of these prices, or maybe just a single click. Let's say that I'm interested in buying Johnson & Johnson. I'm going to buy it here at 171.15. As soon as I click on this price, take a look at what happens right here inside my trade bar. The 171.15 gets automatically loaded into my order bar. That's one of the benefits of just clicking single click right here on the market depth. If you double click, I want you guys to take a look what happens to the route, because the route will change on a double click. So let me look at the 171.15 again. So the 171.15 is being offered by NASDAQ. If I double click on NASDAQ, that's changing very quickly too. Let me do that again. There we go. So if I double click on NASDAQ, the 171.15, it highlights it, but I have that price here in the limit box and the route has been changed to NASDAQ. There is an order routing technology that is part of the TradeStation platform that routes your order based on the price specifications and the type of order you send. TradeStation will choose the route for you. So you don't have to be concerned about where do I send it? Do I send it to NASDAQ, ARCA, all these market makers, all these ECNs? I'm not sure what to do. Well, you don't have to choose. You can just leave it on intelligent, route here, set it to intelligent, and that's the order routing technology on the order execution server. But if you double click on any of these, just be mindful that you're changing also the route. Single click only changes the price. Double click creates a highlight on that row, and it also changes the route right here on the trade bar. So you can technically submit an order to that specific route. If I leave it on intelligent, I can trade some shares right here. Let me go ahead and buy. I'm going to say yes. And notice that when you submit an order, you see how it looks right here inside of the market depth. You can see how the order fluctuates up and down in relationship to current market conditions. I said that I wanted to buy it. I submitted it at 171.16, and it's pushing upward. It's not pushing over, it's moving upward because the market is moving, but you can see where your order is in relationship with other prices. I find that very convenient. If I replace that order, there's no cancel replace from here. Let's say, it's just hard to right click on this. Let's see if I can do it. Right click? No, it's going to be, you can cancel bids and offers, but if you wanted to cancel replace, I would suggest you go to a trade manager. I wouldn't handle orders right here if I'm dependent on a right click, because this is moving up and down so quickly that it's really hard to right click on something specific. Uh, oh, that's right. I didn't send out my schedule. I sent out my reminder for the class this morning, but I did not send out the schedule. I'll do that right after this class, Myron. Thank you for reminding me. I'll send out the schedule for this week so that everybody knows what topics we're going to be handling so that you can plan your week accordingly, okay? But this is what I had in this session for you guys. Just a quick description on the quick trade bar and also a deep dive here on the market depth window. So I hope you guys walk away with something useful here. And we have other apps that show market depth, but I didn't want to bring them over or talk about them because I didn't want to extend the class. But this is the market depth window, and just open it up and see if it's something you would want to use. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure as always. So I hope to see everyone tomorrow. Have a wonderful afternoon and keep in touch. Bye-bye.